Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Kevalada Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Kevalada Yasodanandana Bhajana Yasodanandana Bhajana Yamuna Peya Vanachari Yamuna Peya Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastvesya Bhadrasya Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. We will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra and Krishna blesses his devotees. We are on the last 5 verses of this chapter. It's about Krishna blesses his devotees, Srutadeva and Bahulasva, King Bahulasva. I first read the Sanskrit of the first verses in the translation. Dusprahya avidit vaivam avajananti asuryava Gomam vipram atmanam acharda ichadistaya. Translation. Ignorant of this truth, foolish people neglect and enviously offend a learned Brahman who being non-different from me, is their spiritual master and very self. They consider worshipable only such obvious manifestations of divinity as my deity form. Text 56. Characharam idam vishvam bhavaye sasya hetava matrupaniti setashi adate vipro mat ikshaya. Translation. Because he has realized me, a Brahman is firmly fixed in the knowledge that everything moving and non-moving in the universe, and also the primary elements of its creation, are all manifestations, forms expanded from me. 57. Tasma Brahma Rishinnetam Brahman Shraddhayaksaya Evam Chet Ashitun Smyatam Nanyata Bhuribhutibihi. Therefore you should worship these Brahman sages, O Brahman, with the same faith you have in me. If you do so, you will worship me directly, which you cannot do otherwise, even with offering of vast riches. Text 58. Jisugavacha saitam prabhunadishta sa Krishnam vichottamam aratyaitatma bhavena maitirasapa satgatim. Shisuka said, so instructed by his Lord, with single-minded devotion, Srutadeva worshipped Sri Krishna and the topmost Brahmins accompanying him, and King Bahulasva did the same. Thus both Srutadeva and the king attained the ultimate transcendental destination. Now text 59, which is on the board, please repeat. Evam sva bhaktayo rajan Bhagavan bhakta bhaktimam Usitva disya sanmargam Punartvara vatim agat Evam sva bhaktayo rajan Bhagavan bhakta bhaktimam Usitva disya sanmargam Punartvara vatim agat Evam sva bhaktayo rajan Bhagavan bhakta bhaktimam Usitva disya sammargam Punartvara vatim agat Evam sva bhaktayo rajan Bhagavan bhakta bhaktimam Usitva disya sammargam Punartvara vatim agat Evam sva bhaktayo rajan Bhagavan Bhaktam Bhaktimam Usitpadisya Sammargam Punarvaravatim Magat. Evam Svabhaktayo Rajan Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktimam Usitpadisya Sammargam Punarvaravatim Magat. Evam Svabhaktayo Rajan Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktimam Usitpadisya Sammargam Punarvaravatim Magat. Word for word translation. Evam, thus, Sva, his, Bhaktayo, with the two devotees, Rajan, O King Parikshit, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Bhakta, to his devotees, Bhaktimam, who is devoted, Ushitva, staying, Adishya, teaching, Sat, of pure saints, Margam, the path, Purna, again, Tvaravatim, to Tvaraka, a god, he went. Translation. O King, thus the personality of Godhead, who is devoted to his own devotees, stayed for some time with his two great devotees, Srutadeva and Bahulasva, teaching them the behavior of perfect saints. Then the Lord returned to Dvarka. Purport. In his narration of this pastime, in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada concludes, the instruction we receive from this incident is that King Bahulasva and Srutadeva, the Brahman, were accepted by the Lord. On the same level, because both were pure devotees. This is the real qualification for being recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it has become the fashion of this age to be falsely proud of having taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahman. We see persons without any qualification other than birth claiming to be a Brahman or Kshatriya or Vaishnava, but as stated in the scriptures, Kala Sudra Sambhava. In this age of Kali, everyone is born as Sudra. This because there is no performance of purificatory processes known as samskars, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, simply by birthright. If one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony or Garbhadhan Samskar, he is immediately classified amongst the Sudras, because only the Sudras will not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Sudras or the animals. Krishna consciousness is therefore the best process of purification. By this process, everyone can come to the platform of a Vaishnava, which includes having all the qualifications of a Brahman. The Vaishnavas are trained to become freed from the four kinds of sinful activities: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal food. One cannot be on the Brahminical platform without having these preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmin, one cannot become a pure devotee. Thus ends the purpose of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, chapter 8, chapter 86 chapter, of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra, and Krishna blesses his devotees. Om Ajnanatimandasya Chinanjana Shlakam Chakshunmitam Yena Tasmai Shigove Namah Shichetayamanovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutani Svayam Rupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiyuda Padakamalam Shivam Vaishnavam Sham Shirupam Jagajatam Sagana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savlutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saranalita Shivishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sinodina Bandho Chatpati Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Galangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavani Srutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Pankha Kalptrabhisha Kripasan Vaibhisha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnapadaya Krishna Vistaya Mutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravanya Pacharani. Nirvashesha Srinyavadi Bhaskatya Desatarani. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So these are the last 5 verses of this chapter, and we will go over them again. Text 55. Ignorant of this truth, foolish people neglect and enviously offend the learned Brahman, who, being non-different from me, is their spiritual master and very self. They considered worshipable only such obvious manifestations of divinity as my deity form. So Krishna observed when he visited King Bahulasva and Srutadeva that they were worshipping him, but they didn't give attention to all the sages that were with him. So he's teaching them here proper behavior, that worshipping Krishna means also having respect for all his part and parcels, and especially his devotees are worshipable. So we cannot worship Krishna and not worship his devotees. That is inappropriate. That neglecting and offending learned Brahmins, that is what they did. And they considered only the divinity of my deity form as worshipable, Krishna says. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, they do not know that a Brahman is worthy of worship, should also be worshipped to the devotee. The Brahman is the instructor of all living beings. We heard in the previous verses that Krishna entrusts to the Brahman to teach everyone about him. So the Brahman is the instructor of all the beings. So if they are not offering respect to the Brahmins, they are also offending Paramatma. that who is in their hearts. Jiva Goswami comments, because they are unintelligent and cannot tolerate seeing others as themselves, as suyaha. Thus that neophytes have still envy in their heart, and they cannot tolerate seeing others as themselves. And Sanatana Goswami said, they think the deity and its garland are worshipable, but not the devotee. Thus they disrespect the devotee. The Brahman is the guru of the four Varnas, Kshatriya, Brahman, Vaishya, Sudra. The Brahmins are me because I reside in them. We have heard that also in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. Vidura visited after 30 years of pilgrimage. The 33 years, yeah, long time. And he visited Hastinapur. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, he greets them with this verse, Bhagavad, yeah. I don't remember the whole verse, but it's Tirtha Govanti Tirthani, he says. And Gadabrita, these are essential words, Sanskrit words. He says, you are like a place of pilgrimage. You turn all places in place of pilgrimage, wherever you are, by your saintliness. Because you are always keeping Gadabrita, the holder of the club, in your heart. That the holder of the club is Balaram. Paramatma is an expansion of Balaram also. So yes, that by offending Brahmins, yeah, I say the Brahmins are me because I reside in them. They are the dearest to me because I reside in them, and since they are my devotees. So offense to the devotee is the greatest offense. By offending the Brahmins, Sanatana Goswami said, one commits an offense against the Lord. One commits also Guru Aparat, offense to the Guru, because the Brahmins are the Gurus. And third, you make an offense against my devotees. Triple offense, Sanatana Goswami said. So yes, text 56. Moment. Read the translation again. Because he has realized me, a Brahman is firmly fixed in the knowledge that everything moving and non-moving in the universe, and also the primary elements of its creation, are all manifest forms expanded from me. So these are two realizations of a Brahman. It sees everything moving and non-moving in the universe. Everything is Krishna, including all primary elements of the creation. They are all manifested forms from me. So these are Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna is describing the qualities of a Brahman. But that's in agreement with what we find in Bhagavad Gita. Dat Vinipanapana Pariprashna Sevya Upadiksanti Tehinam Ghanas Tat Vadarshana. One approaches spiritual master, serves him, inquires from him with humility. That and what happens then when we are serving the spiritual master nicely? We start to make spiritual advancement. And that spiritual advancement is explained in the next verse. Yat vana panamam evan yasya supandava yena bhutan an asheshani prakshashyatmati ato mai. I read the exact translation. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, and that's the essence. All living entities are part of the Supreme. And that is what the realization from the Brahmins. Not only all living entities, but moving and non-moving, it is said this verse, and even the primary elements. That, of course, Am Sarvasya Prabhu, Mata Sarvam Pavartati, Mata Vabhajantaman Buddha Bhavasaman Buddha. Everything comes from Krishna. And that is Krishna consciousness. We become aware Krishna is in every atom, everything is coming from Krishna. So everything is also Krishna. That are Krishna's energies. And therefore these energies should be used in his service. And the Brahmanas realized that in Srimad Bhagavatam, that 11.2.45, the most advanced devotee sees the Supreme Lord, one's object of worship, within everything, and sees everything in the Supreme Lord. He sees everything in the Supreme Lord. That is, when I read this, I was thinking of 9.4.5 of Bhagavad Gita, that Maya tatamidam sarvam jagatavyakta muktina natstani sarvabhutani natsham tejavastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then the next verse, 9.5. Nasamatstani bhutani pasyama yogamashvam bhuta brinnasa bhuta stoma matma bhuta bhavana. Yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of the creation. So that is the realization of the Brahman. He sees Krishna in every atom, everywhere, as Paramatma is everywhere. But as Bhagavan is the source, and is still aloof from it. Good, we go to verse 57, that's the next verse. Therefore you should worship these Brahman sages, O Brahman, with the same faith you have in me. If you do so, you will worship me directly, which you cannot do otherwise, even with offering of vast riches. So Krishna says, you should worship these Brahman sages. And you should have the same faith in them than you have in me. That if you do so, you will worship me directly. So that's the etiquette. We cannot worship Krishna directly. That we have to worship the spiritual master. And by worshipping the spiritual master, we are worshipping Krishna directly, the verse says. So therefore we do Guru Puja every morning. Guru Puja is the same as worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the spiritual master is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So with the same faith you have in me, if you do so, you will worship me directly, which you cannot do otherwise, even with offerings of past riches. Like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was asked by Lord Srutadeva offer benedictions, then Prahlad Maharaj said, if you want to offer me a benediction, give me the benediction that I can continue without interruption to worship the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Narada Muni. That was the benediction he wanted. Because Prahlad Maharaj was aware of the etiquette. I cannot worship the Supreme Lord directly. But indirectly to the spiritual master is as good as worshipping the Lord directly. And that is what Krishna says here. So Jiva Goswami says, worship of all my devotees with great affection. If you do this, you worship me directly. By giving up my devotees, I am not worshipped by offerings of great wealth. That will not help. You may offer the greatest wealth to the Supreme Lord, but if you are neglecting his devotees, Krishna will not accept. That's a very important aspect. 58. Sri Sukha said, so instructed by his Lord, with single-minded devotees, Srutadeva worshipped Sri Krishna and the topmost Brahmins accompanying him, and King Bahulasva did the same. But both Srutadeva and the king attained the ultimate transcendental destination. So they attained perfection by doing that. So Srutadeva worshipped Sri Krishna and the topmost Brahmins accompanying him, and King Bahulasva did the same. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, he worshipped Krishna and the sages with understanding that they are non-different. Thus, following the instructions of the Lord, they attained the eternal abode. So this is described in Nectar of Devotion, also in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. There are 3 levels of devotees, the Kanishta, the Madhyam, the Uttam. And so we should not remain Kanishta. A Kanishta thinks God is worshipable, but not the devotees. And because he cannot understand who is advanced, and who is not advanced, he makes offenses towards the devotees. Therefore Krishna gives the qualities of his advanced devotees, especially these advanced devotees should be worshipped. So then we come to 59, the verse which was on the board, the last verse of the chapter. O King, thus the personality of Godhead, who is devoted to his own devotees, stayed for some time with his 2 great devotees, Srutadeva and Bahulasva, teaching them the behavior of perfect saints. Then the Lord returned to Dwarka. So Krishna, he knew these 2 devotees, Srutadeva, who was very poor, a poor Brahmin, and Bahulasva, who was a big king. He visited them both and gave them the same instructions. He visited them because they had a desire to see him, the intense desire, and Krishna reciprocated with their desire. So in this verse, in the purport, based on Srila Prabhupada's purport in Krishna book, it is said that without becoming a qualified Brahman, one cannot become a pure devotee. So we have all to become qualified Brahmins, because becoming a Brahman is just a phase in becoming a devotee. Brahman means Madhyamadikar, liberated, that the heart has become pure. That's the Brahman. And then after the heart is pure, then one can chant the holy name without offenses, and one develops love for Krishna. And then gradually one comes to the platform of asakti, feeling Krishna always within his heart, always thinking of Krishna in his mind. When within asakti, sometimes the mind may redrun for it for a second, but it will immediately come back to Krishna. So that is important. Because I was thinking that, because yesterday I'm giving Bhakta class for devotees in Halifax, that's at the Atlantic coast in Canada. Because they are all new devotees there. There are practically no senior devotees, and therefore I'm giving Bhakta class online. And yesterday we spoke about reincarnation, and I showed a video of a case, and that is it's a little girl. When she was 3-4 years, she started to speak about her previous life, and and with the car they are driving to the streets, and the little girl said, "This was my street, this was the house where I was living," and she describes the house, and finally she recognizes her husband in her previous life, and tells him all things which he did, which are correct. But I was thinking, that's nice to have that realization, but it's all material attachments of previous life she remembered. What's the use of it? That if she would have remembered that she remembered Krishna in previous life, that would be valuable. But all this material attachment and really details of you stole 1,000 rupees from me, and the husband who was a husband in a previous life said, no, it was 2,200, and that was a discussion. So it's all futile. But one who comes to asakti he has lost his interest in all these things. He may be deviated for a moment, but immediately he comes back to Krishna. And then when that deepens, it becomes love for Krishna. So without becoming a qualified Brahman, one cannot become a pure devotee. So this pastime, Krishna is teaching the process of devotion practiced by the devotees, the worship of his devotees. So Lord Krishna taught the path of bhakti to these two devotees personally. So when I was reading that, then I was thinking, we are chanting the holy name of Krishna, and the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is 3 stages: offensive stage, and then the stage of purification, the second stage, the stage of purification, which is the anartha-nivritti, purification of the heart, is called namabhas. And the third stage is Sudanam, the pure name. and that. But how to go from the offensive states to the purification of the heart? That's important. The answer is give up your offensive mentality. And that offensive mentality is deeply rooted in disrespect, especially disrespect for the devotees, disrespect for the spiritual master, disrespect for the holy name. So how to overcome these offenses? Krishna is teaching us here in the Bhagavatam how to overcome it. How to practice devotional service to devotees and how to deal with other advanced devotees. They should be worshipped together with me on the same platform. Because that's related to the first and the third offense against holy name. The first offense is is offending, blaspheming devotees who dedicate their lives for the preaching of the holy name. And the third, which is all devotees, they are dedicating their lives to chanting and preaching. And the third offense is go avahya, is offense to the spiritual master, who is also a devotee. If you perform the third offense, that includes the first offense, because the spiritual master is also a devotee. So to overcome these offenses, one must read Prabhupada's books. It teaches us here how to come to the right mentality. That not only to this pastimes, but many pastimes. Because the Bhagavatam teaches also examples, bad examples of those who have committed these offenses. And one commits these offenses to devotees, if one does not understand the value of the devotee or the spiritual position of the devotee. And one example of that was Daksha, Prajapati Daksha. It was a Prajapati, progenitors of mankind. Because that was the beginning of the creation. They were helping with populating the universe, Brahma's sons. And Daksha was appointed as the chief Prajapati, and he became a little puffed up. And because Brahma had also asked him to give his daughter Gayatri in marriage to Lord Shiva, Sati. Yeah. And so Prajapati Daksha was puffed up and was thinking Lord Shiva to be his son-in-law. So from a mundane point of view, is lower because he's my son-in-law. But he was so blind. So he was completely completely spiritually blind because of his envy. And by that, he could not understand the spiritual position of Lord Shiva, and he made offenses. Lord Shiva is even on a higher level spiritually than Brahma, because his Shiva Tattva is 55 qualities. The living entities have 50 qualities. It's between Vishnu Tattva and Shiva, and the Jiva, that in between. He was of a higher position. And Lord Shiva was always meditating on Krishna within the heart. That made him so elevated. because Brahma had instructed Lord Shiva in the beginning, because all these Rudras, they started to destroy the universe because they were in charge of the mode of ignorance. But this service of destroying the universe should be done at the end of the creation, but it was the beginning of creation. So Brahma called them and said that cool down, it's not the time now, but to keep your passion under control, you should always think of Krishna within the heart. And that was Lord Shiva was doing that. The Lord Shiva is also therefore called the greatest devotee. He's always thinking of Krishna within the heart. And he was in meditation, and when Prajapati Daksha came into the sacrificial arena, at that moment, that all the demigods offered him respect. Only Lord Shiva was seated because he's the father of everyone. And Lord Shiva was in meditation on Krishna within the heart. But he was thinking, Lord Shiva is my son-in-law. This is a scandal. He's seated, everyone praises me, and my own son-in-law is not getting up. And what is the first thing that he says? He addresses the demigods, the whole assembly. And he said, what I'm going to say now is not out of envy, he said. But Prabhupada said that, yes, his heart was just full of envy, but he could not recognize it. And then he was saying that, yes, this Lord Shiva, he lives at crematoria, is not clean. He puts all this dust from dead bodies on he smears it on his body. And and he associates with ghosts, oglobins, all these creatures in the lower modes of nature. And he said, Lord Brahma has forced me to give the hand of my daughter who has beautiful divine eyes, and Lord Shiva has eyes like a monkey's. That is not speaking out of envy. What was the result? Finally, he will lose his head and get the head of a goat. And then he became more humble before Lord Shiva afterwards. He understood he made an offense. But it's better not to learn in that way. A more easy way to learn is hearing the Bhagavatam. That's a hard way, but he learned also that so he could not understand was the position of Lord Shiva. And that's also the neophyte in the beginning. One cannot see who is advanced, who is not advanced. There's also Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, although he was a great mystic, and he was a tapasvi, he had great powers, but he cursed unnecessary Ambarish Maharaj. And then he became angry and was taking one hair of his head. I don't know if he had much hair, but anyway. And he threw it on the ground, and a big demon came out of it. Yeah, fiery demon who was meant to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was a pure devotee, and he depended completely on Krishna. At that time, Krishna's chakra appeared, killed the demon, and started to chase after the Vasamuni, who was flooding all over the universe. And then he had to learn also the lesson. He came to Lord Shiva, asked for protection, and Lord Shiva said, "Nothing I can do for you. You have offended the Lord's devotee." And then he went to Lord Brahma, and Brahma said the same, "Nothing I can do for you. That you should ask forgiveness from Ambarish." And then he went even up to Vaikuntha, and asked protection of Lord Narayan. And Lord Narayan said, "You should understand the value of the devotees. My devotee is always thinking of me, and I'm always thinking of my devotee. My devotee does not know anything else than me, and I do not know anything else than my devotee." That's the intimate relationship. And then the Vasamuni understood. He went back to Ambarish Maharaj and asked for forgiveness. And then the chakra stopped following him. But he had also to learn the hard way. Of course, one can say, I'm a neophyte. I don't know who is advanced, who is not advanced. We learn about the symptoms, but it takes some time to understand who is advanced, who is not advanced. We think only this great sannyasi goes with many disciples, they must be advanced and not the others. Not a devotee who is humbly doing service, menial service. But for Krishna, it's the same. You see, King Bahulasva, Srutadeva. Srutadeva was very humble, simple, stayed on the background everywhere. He was a pure devotee. But what to do in the beginning? In the beginning is good to learn Vaishnava etiquette. That will prevent us of making this offense. Vaishnava etiquette means, one should not criticize those who are senior. That if one thinks someone needs correction, one can ask a question to the senior, or the godbrother of the senior, or godsister of the senior. That's better. And ask a question. I don't understand this. Can you explain me why this devotee is doing that? So one should not correct anyone unless one is senior or in a position to do that. These are all etiquette to be learned. That my Guru Maharaj used to give a whole Vaishnava etiquette course, which I presented many times. But there are so many aspects to consider. So by that we come to the end. The next chapter is chapter 87, is the biggest chapter of the 10th canto. The prayers of the Shrutis personified. Very philosophical. That I will speak on that next Wednesday, if Krishna wants. Any question or comments, please? Yes, please.
We may learn about the Vaishnava etiquette. Can you please say something in connection Vaishnava etiquette with Vedic culture?
Yeah, of course, the Vaishnava etiquette is Vedic culture, because Vedic culture is spiritual culture. And this culture is a culture of respect. A culture of respect and a culture of cooperation that it's just a principle that what's the purpose of the Vedas? Vedas is Sarvami Vidya. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. But Krishna means also all these Spartan persons, all these devotees. That not only is devotees, also the non-devotees, also the animals, and so on. It's a culture of respect that an appropriate behavior. That when one becomes a devotee, one just avoids by all costs to kill animals unnecessarily. That's just it's a culture that comes from spiritual knowledge, higher knowledge. If you have that higher knowledge, then you act automatically according to this etiquette. So it's not that in the spiritual world they have to learn etiquette. That our constitutional position is being in the spiritual world, but we are here one way or another now. But as we become purified, this etiquette becomes natural. It's not something imposed, it becomes natural. Because we are not on that platform, that higher platform. Therefore, we need rules and regulations to understand what to do, what not to do. That, like my Guru Maharaj always said, you should give the same respect to all my God brothers and God sisters as you give to me. That is respect. That, and that Vedic culture teaches us also what is the safest position. The safest position is if we become humble, we take the humble position. That because this humble position is completely opposed to what's happening in this world. In this world, everyone wants to exploit others for one's own benefit of the body and the mind. But humility means one gets rid of this tendency to exploit, but comes to the position of serving. So if one has a higher spiritual position in our movement, means greater servant, that's all. So one can see who is more advanced by his expanded service attitude factor. And that is, we need to learn these things. And this service attitude. And that's the safest position. That who is more advanced? Text 5, Nectar of Instructions, that one should offer respect to someone who even chants once the holy name, one time. And one should offer obeisance to the devotee who has taken initiation. And one should serve that devotee who has unalloyed devotion for Krishna and who has lost the tendency to criticize others. And that is important. That we have to give up that tendency to criticize others. That we can go into so many things, but We should not, unless it's our servant, our service. Like Prabhupada also, one reporter asked him, what do you think of this Swami? And he gave a name. But then Prabhupada said, I don't think of him. So we don't have to go in all these things. That unfortunately, things like Facebook and all this social media is fueling all these things and gives us the bad example. And that's not good. That one devotee starts to criticize, and it is going to so many others, and it becomes very dangerous, that thing. So we should be very careful not to criticize devotees, but glorify them. See the good qualities in the devotee. If you see the good qualities, you will develop the good qualities. And if you see faults in others, then you cultivate these faults in your heart. So that's our lessons to learn. I said something, does that help? Good. Something else? Yes.
In addition, what you just explained about Vedic culture is based on spirituality, it's very easy, very clear to see that. It is exemplified in, for example, the Kumbh Mela, where there's millions of people together. They don't have the same vision, but there's no quarrel. They respect each other. And as opposite to, for example, Roman Christians and Protestants, they fight like in a war, you know. So that's the difference. Vedic culture is based on respect and spirituality.
That's interesting. Thank you for that comment. Good. Thank you very much. Shantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.